Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathiran kathira. Amma ba'du. We continue, alhamdulillah, bismillah ta'ala, with our series of classes on the Sahaba, Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, who I refer to them as the gold standard. And as I mentioned to you, every body of knowledge, everything in the world has a standard. Anyone who wants to excel in any activity, any profession, must necessarily conform to a standard, must necessarily benchmark himself or herself against that standard to be able to assess how they are doing. Am I on par with the standard? Am I substandard? Am I super standard? What is the situation? None of these questions can be answered if we do not have a standard. And one of the big problems that we have today with our, especially Muslim institutions, as well as ourselves in our lives, is that we have forgotten what the standard is. And we had a standard, we still have the same standard, but we have ignored it, we have forgotten it for so long that it is as if we have no standard. But the standard is there, and that standard is what I call the gold standard, and that is the standard of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The reason I say the companions are the standard, because they are living proof that the way of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is practicable, and it must be practiced, and if it is practiced, then it gives us fantastic results. And the basis of that whole standard, as I mentioned in the last class, is complete, unquestioning obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. Only the one who obeys Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, only that person will attain eventual final success, supreme success. Only the person. I use the term unquestioning, not unthinking. We obey because we understand. We don't obey without understanding. We obey because we understand. We obey because we know who we are obeying, not because we are unaware. We obey because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to obey. And we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and love Him above everyone and everything else. And we try never to do anything that is likely to displease Him, Jalla Jalaluhu. We obey because we know that He knows, Jalla Jalaluhu, what is best for us, and He wants that for us. He has given us the choice of picking it up, of taking it. That is the essence of taqwa. To obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to believe in Allah, and to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam obeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The classic example of that is the example of Salah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Aqimu Salah, establish Salah. We accepted, we say, Labbaik, Ya Rab, we are here and we are ready to obey. How must we do it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a teacher. He sent His Nabi alayhi salatu wassalam to teach us how to obey. And that how is, He said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, He did the Salah, He taught us how to do the Salah, and then He advised us and said, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. He said, pray as you have seen me pray. This obedience is seen also in another very critical aspect of the early days of Islam, which is the migration from Makkah, the migration to Medina, the migration from Makkah. The Muslims left Makkah and left their homes in Makkah on account of severe persecution and they migrated to Medina. They arrived there as refugees. And this is a word which in today's context has suddenly assumed significance. And the way that these refugees, we call them migrants, we call them muhajirun, but they were not migrants in the way of how, for example, people come to this country to get jobs and so on and so forth, to study. All of these are migrations. People come, at least from our side of the world, no Indian or Pakistani, I can say, comes to America with the intention of going back, right? They all come with the intention of staying one way or the other. In some cases, maybe even illegally, but the point is that they come with the intention of, but they're not coming because they're being persecuted in Pakistan or something. They're coming because they want to come. I mean, they want to come, they have hopes and aspirations to better their lives, to get better job, better more money and so on. And so they come willingly. They make a lot of effort to come. And when they land here, they work very hard and so on and so forth. But they are not refugees in any sense of the term. Refugees today we have from the war-torn countries. We have in this country, at least in America, we have from Bosnia, from Syria, from Iraq, and so on and so forth, and refugees from different parts of the world who come here because of persecution, because they have been persecuted, because they are in the war zones, they have been, all their livelihood has been destroyed, their families have been murdered, and so forth. Now the point is that this is how the Sahaba went. The Sahaba didn't go to Medina to get better jobs. They didn't go to Medina to make more money. They went to Medina because they had no alternative. They, from first migration was to Habasha, to Abyssinia, and then they migrated. Those from Habasha also came to Medina. Others from Makkah went to Medina. So they came as refugees. Now think about how were they treated in Medina. Did they set up refugee camps? Did they set up housing for refugees and this and that and the other? The orphans in that, did they set up orphanages, yatim khanas? They took them, the people of Medina took them into their homes. Rasulullah ﷺ created the ummah of the ummah of this religion was created in Medina, not in Makkah. In Makkah, there were the Meccan people. There was no, they were already related and so on and so forth. But in Medina, Rasulullah ﷺ created the ummah. The ummah Muhammad is sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The foundation was placed of that in Medina, where Rasulullah ﷺ took disparate people who have nothing in common with each other. Abu Sayyid al-Khudri radiallahu anhu was made the brother of Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu. One is a Persian who speaks Persian. The other one is an Arab from Medina. I mean, no similarity of any kind. Yet they became brothers, and they became brothers to such an extent. And inshallah, as we go forward, we will listen to the stories of that kind of brotherhood. Today, subhanAllah, may Allah have mercy on us, illa mashallah, we do not even have that level of lack of takalluf, that level of freedom, of togetherness, even among own blood brothers. May Allah have mercy. So it's a big lesson for us to learn. The people didn't take the orphans and stick them into an orphanage. They took them home and made them part of their family. They made them. They were raised like their own children. Right? Now this is the benchmark for anyone who is receiving refugees today from different parts of the world. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the difficulties that the Sahaba endured for the sake of their deen, and He praised them for it, and He called them the Sadiqun, He called them the truthful ones, and promised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. He promised His mercy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically praised those who helped the ones who migrated to save their religion. The refugees, they came only for one reason, because they were not being allowed to practice their religion in Makkah. They didn't come to the hadith innamal a'malu binniyat is very clear on that. Rasulullah said only the one who migrates for the sake of Allah and His Rasul has migrated for the sake of Allah and His Rasul. But somebody who migrates to marry a woman or to offer some business or some other purpose has migrated for that purpose and not for the sake of Allah and His Rasul. So this is very clear. The Sahaba who came as the Muhajirun, they came, they made hijrat only because they wanted to practice Islam which they were being prevented from doing in Makkah. So they moved to Medina, where this freedom was given to them to practice their religion. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically praised those who helped them, who helped the migrants and shared from what Allah had given them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لِلْفُقَرَاءِ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ وَأَمْوَالِهِمْ يَبْتَغُونَ فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانَهُ وَيَنْصُرُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الصَّادِقُونَ. I said, these are the truthful ones. وَالَّذِينَ تَبَوَّؤُوا الدَّارَ وَالْإِيمَانَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ يحبون من هاجر إليهم ولا يجدون في صدورهم حاجة مما أوتوا ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم المفلحون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and there is also a share in this booty, and this is from Surah Al-Hashr, for the poor migrants, for the poor immigrants, the muhajirun who were expelled from their homes and their property was seized, seeking bounties from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to please Him. They moved only for that reason. And helping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means helping His religion and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Such are indeed the truthful ones. These are the people who are truthful, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is their witness. And Allah said, and those who before them had homes in Medina and had adopted the faith, they had become Muslim. They had homes in and Allah said, and they love those who emigrate. They love the muhajirun. They don't say this is a nuisance, why did they come? They are taking away our jobs. No. He said they love those who emigrate to them, and they have no jealousy in their hearts, in their breasts for that which they have been given from the booty of Banu Nadir, and give them the emigrants preference over themselves. Who? The Ansar, the helpers, the Ansar of Medina. There is no generation like them. And then Allah said they gave them preference over themselves, even though they were also in need. And whosoever is saved from his own covetousness, from his own greed, such are they who will be successful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from greed. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about the lovely dua that the Ansar made. Allah said, وَالَّذِينَ جَاءُوا مِن بَعْدِهِمْ يَقُولُونَ رَبَّنَا اغْفِرْ لَنَا وَلِإِخْوَانِنَا الَّذِينَ سَبَقُونَا بِالْإِيمَانِ وَلَا تَجْعَلْ فِي قُلُوبِنَا غِلًّا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا رَبَّنَا إِنَّكَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Allah said, and those who came after them, meaning the people who accepted Islam later, they said, "Oh our Rabb, forgive us and our brethren who have preceded us in faith, and put not in our hearts any hatred against those who have believed. Our Rabb, you are indeed full of kindness and most merciful." So it is saying people who came before us, oh Allah, make us love them and let us not be jealous of them, and let us not, because they are coming here to Medina, let us not feel that they are taking away something from us. This is a ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent somebody with whom we can share our bounty and what Allah has given us. The culture of the Arabs, as we know, was, and even to this day, it's a tribal culture of loyalty to the tribe, which was the basis of belonging. Right? This is the whole Arab culture was a culture of tribes, and that is what kept them apart. That is what kept them split up. The tragedy is that after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, the Arabs went back to that, to the tribal culture, to this day, and that's why they can never get together. They can never cooperate, they can never get together, because they're always thinking in their heads of tribes. May Allah have mercy on us. This has to go. This tribalistic culture, this tribalism has to go. We have to see each other as brothers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us brothers and sisters in Islam, not in the tribe. We have to see each other as brothers and sisters in Islam. If we look down on each other, may Allah have mercy on us. There is no hope for people who look down on another Muslim. Forget about another person. If anyone who looks down on another human being is lost. But the one who's looking down on another Muslim who is like him, who worships the same God, for God's sake, I mean, what basis do you have to do that? Seriously, I think this is a very, it's a cancer which is eating us from inside, and we don't even have the intelligence to see that and to recognize that. So the culture of the Arabs was a tribal culture of loyalty to the tribe, and it was the basis of belonging, and that created a very strong we versus them, insider outsider culture, which was very racist. As I said, even to this day is the same situation. May Allah have mercy. Now there was a saying among the Arabs that illustrates this culture. It said, support your brother whether he is the oppressor or the oppressed. Support your brother whether he is right or wrong. Meaning, in the tribe, if he is your tribal brother, then whatever he does, support him. Rasulullah ﷺ, in his inimitable style, used this very quote. He used the same wording to teach the lesson of justice, where he quoted this to the Sahaba. He said, support your brother whether he is the oppressor or the oppressed. Now they, being used to his own normal sense of justice, they were surprised to hear this from him. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, we understand the need to support our brother if he is oppressed, but how can we support him if he is the oppressor? Rasulullah replied, support him by stopping his oppression, support him by holding his hand, don't let him do it, so that you can save him from the punishment of Allah. If he did what he is doing, which is oppression, Allah will punish him. So when you stop him, you are actually supporting him, because you are helping him to avoid and to be safe from the punishment of Allah. When justice and brotherhood are replaced with chauvinism and racism and tribalism, the result is fragmentation, disunity, and universal suffering. May Allah have mercy on us. This is so clear for anybody who has the eyes to see. May Allah give us the eyes to see this. So how was it that despite the racist and tribal roots of the culture, the Sahaba formed a brotherhood of faith that transcended all boundaries of race and nationality and tribe and lineage? The answer is once again in their obedience to Rasulullah. If they told him to do something, they did it. They changed their way of thinking, their approach, and their way of life. History is witness to the resulting era of peace and harmony and justice and compassion, which they enjoyed and left as a benchmark for future generations to emulate. Sadly, we are a nation of talkers. So we talk about these good old days with great passion, but in our own lives and societies, we have reverted to nationalism and racism and are suffering the consequences. When the Muhajirun, the migrant refugees, came to Medina, Rasulullah paired one of them with a resident who he called the Ansari, the helper, and he told them that they were brothers to each other. They were brothers to one another. The basis of brotherhood being faith, not tribe, not lineage, not family, but faith, Islam. Rasulullah chose people who had nothing in common, but the Sahaba, once paired, lived like brothers all their lives. Right? Though they came from widely different backgrounds and widely different social levels and widely different economic levels, the Muhajirun came, even if they had been rich and wealthy in Medina, they came to in Mecca, they landed in Medina penniless. So there was automatically the huge economic difference between the two. They came from different tribes, they came from different tribal hierarchies and levels, they came from different social levels. They bridged all these differences and lived together. In many cases, if not most, literally in the same house as brothers and sisters. Slaves became the brothers of tribal chiefs. An Arab, Abu Darda al-Ansari, as I mentioned to you, became the brother of a Persian slave, Salman al-Farsi. And another Arab from a powerful tribe, Abu Ruwayha, the brother of a black African slave, Bilal bin Rabah, radiallahu anhuma. Both of them are radiallahu anhu. In both these cases, the two ex-slaves, Bilal bin Rabah and Salman al-Farsi, were higher in status than their host brothers, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam included both of them in his own household. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said they are from the household of the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. The Sahaba understood this hierarchy of faith very well. It is stated that one day during the Khilafah of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, Abu Sufyan bin Harb radiallahu anhu and Suhail bin Amr radiallahu anhu and some other prominent Arab chiefs came to meet the Khalifa. As you will recall, Abu Sufyan bin Harb had been the head of Qurayshi opposition to Rasulullah after the death of Abu Jahl, while his daughter Habiba radiallahu anha was married to Rasulullah. But he came to Islam only after the conquest of Makkah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically separated, and the people who became Muslim before Fatah Makkah and the ones who became after as two different levels in his sight. Now Suhail bin Amr radiallahu anhu was the envoy of the Quraysh during Hudaybiyah, who drove a very hard bargain and was highly disrespectful to Rasulullah during the negotiation. Both were very staunch Muslims. Once they came to Islam, and they were very good Muslims, alhamdulillah, they were Sahaba, and we respect them. But this was the background from which they came. Abu Sufyan bin Harb used to be the wa'id, the speech maker, the encourager of the Muslim army, and would exhort the soldiers to be brave and steadfast in the face of the enemy. Suhail bin Amr radiallahu anhu was responsible for ensuring that the Quraysh of Makkah did not rebel against zakat during the Khilafah of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when almost every other tribe in the Hijaz was rebelling. The governor of Makkah, who had been appointed governor, he went into hiding. He did not even face the people, but Suhail bin Amr, who was also a great orator, he stood at the Kaaba and he spoke to them, and he convinced the people to stay truthful to the religion and to pay their zakats to Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. Now on this day, when these people arrived to see the Khalifa Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, coincidentally it so happened that Bilal radiallahu anhu and Suhaib al-Rumi radiallahu anhuma also arrived to meet the Khalifa. So Bilal and Suhaib al-Rumi radiallahu anhuma both also arrived to meet the Khalifa. When Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu was told about them, he called them first, even though they came after the chiefs of Quraysh, and the chiefs of Quraysh had to wait. Now Abu Sufyan radiallahu anhu could not restrain himself. He was also, Abu Sufyan was a ruler. Abu Sufyan was a noble. He came from a very illustrious family in the Quraysh itself, and so forth. So he couldn't restrain himself, and he turned to his companions and he said, "This is our fate. It is our fate to endure this disgrace." Where he said, the slaves are admitted to the audience, while we, the nobles of Arabia, we stay at the door. Now hearing this, Suhail bin Amr he retorted, and he said, "But who is to be blamed for this? Rasulullah invited us all with one voice, but we refused his call, and we severely resisted him. On the other hand, these slaves came forward and accepted his message. So today, it is their right to get preference over us in this world and the next. We have no cause for complaint." Now it was this sense of justice of the Sahaba which was a mark of their truthfulness and which gave them their strength of character. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us just people who are focused on justice. The wages of obedience are preference in this world and the next. Really, it is very important for us to understand this, that we and we don't get led astray by anyone or anything or anyone or anything that we who tells us otherwise. It is, at the end of the day, it is justice which marks the Muslims as Muslims. There are many cases and many stories of the Sahaba, of this brotherhood of faith that Rasulullah created, and which the Sahaba honored and fulfilled. And as a result of that, what happened and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored them. Let me just tell you one of these stories. This is a beautiful story of Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu and Abu Sayyid al-Khudri radiallahu anhu, who were, as I mentioned to you, Rasulullah made them brothers in Islam. And so the story is that one day, not Abu Sayyid, Abu Darda al-Ansari radiallahu anhu. So Abu Darda al-Ansari radiallahu anhu and Salman al-Farsi radiallahu anhu were brothers, made brothers by Rasulullah. Now the beautiful story is, and I was telling you that this brotherhood was so strong and so deep that even today we don't even expect this kind of behavior even with our own blood brothers. We should be able to, I don't see any reason why we should not, but I'm telling you the reality of what usually happens. The story is that one day Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu came home, and they were living in the same house, and this was before the orders of Parda and so on of segregation had come. So he came and he saw the wife of Abu Darda radiallahu anha in a kind of disabled state. You know, she didn't look like she was taking care of herself properly. So Salman al-Farsi asked her, "Are you not well or something? I mean, why are you looking like this?" So she said, "No, I'm fine, but your brother is no longer interested in me. He has no time for me, he has no interest in me." So she said he fasts all day and he stands in Salah all night, and he does this every day. So there is no time for me. So what's the point in me, dressing up or taking care of myself and so on? My husband is not interested. So Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu, he said, "Okay, let me deal with that." So midday, Abu Darda came, radiallahu anhu, and the food was set out. He brought the food and he set the food out and he invited Salman Farsi. He said, "Please come eat." So Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu said, "You must eat with me, otherwise I will not eat." So Abu Darda radiallahu anhu said, "No, I'm fasting, I can't eat." He said, "No, break your fast, because this is not Ramadan. This is not a special fast for any reason. This is just a nafil fast. So break your fast. Unless you eat, I will not eat." So Abu Darda radiallahu anhu, with great reluctance, he broke his fast and he ate with him. Then in the evening, when they were going to sleep, Abu Darda radiallahu anhu, he looked to ensure that Salman Farsi radiallahu anhu had everything that he needed, and then he was ready to stand up in Salah. So Salman Farsi said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm praying." He said, "No, there is no need. Isha Salah is over. You have come home." He said, "Now sleep. This is a time for sleep, for rest. This is not a time for..." He said, "No, I am Tahajjud." He said, "Tahajjud, third part of the night. It's not now. No need to pray Tahajjud from now. No need to pray all night. So go to sleep. You need rest." So again, with great reluctance, Abu Darda radiallahu anhu, obviously he must have felt very oppressed. This is like, this man is oppressing me in my own house. So anyhow, he lay down. After some time, he assumed, or he thought that Salman Farsi must have gone to sleep. So he got up to pray. Salman Farsi was awake. He said, "What happened?" "Go to sleep." "Why are you awake?" So Abu Darda said, "Look, I want to pray." He said, "No, this is not the time to pray, just sleep." So after a little while, this happened again. So Abu Darda radiallahu anhu was, got fed up. He said, "What is this happening?" Finally, last 1/3 of the night, both of them got up, they prayed Tahajjud, and then they went to Masjid Nabawi Sharif for Salatul Fajr. Now Rasulullah had a practice where after Salatul Fajr he would turn around and sit, and after he had completed the Azkar, these are the Muakkada Azkar, the important Azkar after every first Salah, which Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam did, then he would either give a mu'awidah, he would either give a khatira, he would either give some advice, or he would ask people if they had seen any dreams, and then he would interpret those dreams, or he would ask people if they have any questions, and he would clarify and answer the questions. So at that time, he said, "Does anyone have anything to say?" And Abu Darda radiallahu anhu said, "I have a complaint, Ya Rasulullah, against my brother Salman al-Farsi. Now Salman al-Farsi is also there, so it is happening not behind his back, in front of him. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, what's the complaint? Abu Darda said, this is the complaint. I was fasting, he made me break my fast. I wanted to pray in the night. After Isha we got home and he would not let me pray. He forced me to sleep, and then he, a third part of the night we got up and we prayed and so on. And this is like oppression in not letting me worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way I want to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, what did he give you a reason why he was doing that? So Abu Darda said, yes, he gave me a reason. He said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a right on you, your body has a right on you, and your family, meaning your wife and your children, they have a right on you. He said, be just and give everyone their right. Don't take away the right from somebody else and give it to one of them. He said, give everyone their right. Allah has a right, your body has a right, and your family has a right. Give to each of them what is due to them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, your brother spoke the truth. That is correct. Give everyone their right. So you don't worship all night, don't neglect your wife, don't neglect your children, don't need to fast all day. He said, you also eat and you also fast and you also sleep and you also pray and do all that. This is the right of Allah, that you should worship Him and fast and pray, but it's also the right of your wife and children that you should take care of them and you should fulfill the rights of your wife, and it is your right on your body that you must eat properly and that you must rest and so on, so that the body is healthy. Now, this is the level of brotherhood and closeness that the Sahaba had for each other. Right? Think about that. How many of us can say this to our brothers or our sisters or their spouses today and get away with it? Right? People will resent, people will get angry. We should change our ways and our behavior. This is not something to get angry about. This is something to be thankful for. Alhamdulillah, somebody cares enough for me to tell me something. Right? It would be easier for him just to say nothing. But he cares enough to come and say something to me. And this is something to be thankful for. It's not something to resent. Somebody corrects my child, today we get upset. We say, wow, how can you correct my child? Alhamdulillah, I mean, the other person who corrected your child is interested enough in you and your child to correct some funky behavior. Your child is behaving in a way that a child should not behave. A Muslim child should not behave. Maybe if you had been there, you would have corrected him. Alhamdulillah, you were not there, somebody else was there, and therefore that person corrected your child, you should be very happy. We like to talk and repeat this quote. We say it takes a whole village to raise a child. How can it take a whole village when everyone gets offended? If somebody other than yourself, you say anything to the child and you are afraid to say anything to your child because we have turned parenting upside down on its head today, parents are afraid of children. Brothers and sisters, the whole point of these series of Sahaba, lectures on Sahaba and so on is not simply storytelling. You can read the stories. I mean, I'm not getting wahi from somewhere. I don't have anything original to tell you. I am telling you what is in the books already. Right? Okay, it's easier to listen to me than for you to read a book, and you should really read a book. But where did I get the story from? From the book. But my value addition to this is, from the story, what can we take away today and what can we apply in our lives and how can we change our lives? That's the value addition. And I really sincerely hope you can pay attention to that and do something about your lives. It's pathetic to see how children treat their parents today. And believe me, in every single instance, the parents are responsible. You raised your children like that. No child is born an oppressor. We create them. We create oppressors. So please don't do that. Have mercy on yourself. Do not do that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable us to live our lives the way the Sahaba lived their lives and to follow their gold standard which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya rabbal alamin.